Yo, what's going on everybody? It's Cha-Cha, and today we are reviewing the Hobie Pro Angler 12 2023. And I've had this boat for almost a year now, and I just had a few things that I wanted to point out on the kayak that I think are important when and where this boat should be used, and kind of just covering all the bases if you're on the fence on getting a Pro Angler. So starting off, this boat is 12 feet long, obviously, and it's 36 inches or 3 feet wide. And that is one of the huge strengths of this boat because it's extremely stable. When I say you can do jumping jacks on it, you can literally do jumping jacks on it. That is probably my favorite thing about the boat in general. But moving on, the capacity of the boat is 500 pounds, but one of the things a lot of people don't realize is the labeled capacity on a boat or a kayak is not discounting the kayak itself. So it's 500 pounds minus the weight of the kayak, and fully rigged is around 130 pounds. So you've got 370 pounds to play with between yourself and everything else that you're using. So just keep that in mind. That 500 pound mark does not mean you can put 500 pounds on top of the boat. That is not counting the boat itself. Along with the seat is right around the same, about 350 pounds. So I want to go from front to back, all the features of this kayak, because there's a lot of them, and you can keep it as simple as you want, or you can load it all the way up. It's got a million places to attach things, add cameras, add rod holders, all kinds of stuff. So starting in the front, you've got the front hatch, and that is your direct dry storage. Underneath of that, it comes with kind of a bucket inside. It's pretty deep, it can hold a lot. I keep like a hammock, extra snacks, I'll keep a light, and then I'll keep my dry bag inside of that with my batteries, my chargers, and all that kind of stuff. But in general, that in there will not get any water on the inside unless you're driving water, like you're taking on waves all day. And only if that happens, I've only gotten a few drops in there, so it's a very safe dry storage. In front of that, kind of missed it, the handle, front and back, are super nice. It's not one of those small little string straps. It's hard plastic and metal, I think, on the front and back, so carrying it with someone makes it super easy. And the boat itself is 105 pounds. It's not the easiest to carry, but add a cart to it. The best cart that I've found is the cart that goes up inside of the scupper holes that Hobie makes, the sand or the rubber wheels, and you'll be good to go with that. You can get it on and off of the car / truck, and then you can have the wheels up in there and be able to roll it around wherever you need to go. So getting back to the features of this kayak, you've got the mast hole in front of the dry storage, and that is for putting your sail in. I've never used that, but it's there. And then getting behind that, you have a few plugins where you can have wires going in and out, and they have little adapter type things that you can have wires going in and out of those plugins that keep it nice and organized and keep it fairly watertight, so that you're not getting water running in through those holes and into the hull. I have like my fish finder wires, the transducer, and battery wires going through there. And then right behind those is the second dry storage. This dry storage, I do get a little bit of water in. It's mostly condensation from the droplets inside of the hull, but I'll just keep soft plastics and stuff like that. Stuff if I don't care if it gets a little damp or whatever in there. Go into the seat. I mean, this seat is extremely comfortable. It gives you such a nice high point that you can see clearly and be able to do some sight fishing out of. It has a setting where you can rock it up or you can rock it down, so you can get lower if you got bigger waves, rougher conditions, and then you can sit it up like I usually keep it to keep you at that highest vantage point and be able to see into the water easier. Steering, there's 2 steering knobs on either side. You can grab whichever one you want and steer with that. I have had one come off. Nothing broke, the screw just came out, so I had to replace that, but it was 15 bucks, wasn't a big deal. Let's jump up to the rail system. So you've got track mounts on either side in the very front, right behind the dry storage, and that's super nice for like I'll have my camera mount there. Anything that's a track mount that you don't need to like reach up and grab all the time is super great because it kind of keeps it up out of the way there. For things that you're going to be navigating through or touching the entire time or using the entire time is I'm going to let this plane fly over. 1 second. All right, plane's gone. So back to the rail system. So you've got the normal track mount in the front, and then for what you want to be grabbing, your rod holders or your fish finder, you want to keep a camera behind you facing in front of you, you've got the H-rails, and you can load those H-rails up. I keep 2 rod holders on either side and a fish finder on the right side. And then getting back to behind the seat, right under you, you have your wires that are going down if you choose to use a fish finder. They have a through hull system where it's called the Guardian plate, where you can place your transducer underneath of the Guardian plate, and that Guardian essentially drops down. There's a little pulley to drop it down, so your transducer's sitting in the water, but if you hit a stump or anything like that, it pops it up and tries to save your transducer. And for other pulleys, on the right side, you've got, like I said, the transducer, and you've got the rudder pulley. You just pull it, let it go, so it unsnaps, and then your back rudder goes down. On this side, on your left side, you've got the skeg, which is super nice if you're not trying to make a bunch of hard, windy turns, or you're fishing in the wind and kind of want to keep fairly consistent moving down a shoreline. That's super nice to drop the skeg and only make minor adjustments with your steering handle. That way it kind of keeps you on track where you're trying to go. And back behind the seat completely, we've got the paddles, and there's nice paddle holders back there. I typically just grab the paddle and place it on the side in between the seat and the H-rail, but if you're not using your paddle and you're pedaling all day, those are super nice to keep it up out of the way. And then in between your paddles, you've got a nice open area that you can keep your crate in, or if you want to throw a cooler or whatever back there. I typically use a crate. I just got an H crate that has the H-rails wrapped around it, and it's got a cover on top, so I'm excited to try that out. But then right behind that, you have your last kind of compartment area, and what I keep in that compartment area is my fish finder battery. And essentially you just open it, pull it up, and I have the Burley Pro mount system where it keeps the battery sitting there. It's a waterproof battery, and it keeps it sitting there flush, and that way it's kind of up out of the way behind me. I'm never going to have to touch it when I'm fishing, so I might as well forget about it while I'm out there. So that's super nice to have. Then behind that, on the bottom of the side of the back of the hull, you've got 2 plugs, 2 drain plugs. And now let's get into the drive. So the drive has turbo kick-up fins, and the turbo fins come with the Pro Angler 12 or 14, and they're just longer fins compared to the Outback or Compass. I don't think the Outback has them. I could be wrong though. And they just help propel the boat. I haven't had an issue with them, and they're kick-up fins, which is super nice because if you hit a rock or you hit a stick, and if you hit it hard enough, it's going to pop that fin back up so it doesn't damage or bend the fins. So that's super nice. I take the little slots where you put your feet up in and the straps on them, I just take that off because I don't feel like I need to have my feet strapped in. And on the fin drive, it's also nice that you have 7 modes that you can adjust based on how long or short your legs are. So it can basically fit anyone, for one being if if you have shorter legs, 7 if you have extremely long legs. I keep it 4 or 5, and I also keep the little strap attachment to the drive when I'm out there in case I drop it or anything like that. I do not want to have to replace the drive. But yeah, as far as features go, that pretty much sums it up. So positives and negatives, kind of going down that line. Like I said, stability is extremely nice because you can rock this boat back and forth. And of course, any kayak is tippable, but as far as I've seen, or as many as I've seen, I don't think I've seen one as hard to tip as this. I've never flipped it or anything like that. And I've stood on my seat and fished and set the hook and never had any issues. It is a little heavy, like I said. If you're fishing by yourself, definitely get wheels. I just slide mine up in the bed of the truck, and when I take it out, I'll put the wheels up in there, lock them in place, pull it down, pull it off, and that way I'm never having to pick it up besides when I'm shimmying down the boat ramp or anything like that. Otherwise, I would plan on fishing with someone if you're not going to want to get wheels, but after an investment in the boat, you might as well get the wheels anyway. The seat is another great positive because you're sitting so high, you're able to see a lot more, and compared to the old kayak I had, which sat, I don't know, maybe 6 inches lower, I can definitely tell that I'm able to spot fish easier because I'm sitting that little bit higher, getting rid of more of that glare, and overall I'm just able to see more in the water and what's going on in front of me. I do really like the front storage. The front storage, like I said, rarely ever gets wet. I just keep a little dry bag in there just in case, and that is super nice to have my wire for my GoPro to go in for my mount in the front. And each of your levers, like your pulleys for your rudder and your skeg, are super nice because you pop them up and they're out of the way. The only thing is you have to be careful if you're dragging your kayak over stuff, which I don't recommend anyway, but if you are dragging it over stuff, don't be dragging it over things sticking up, because your rudder and skeg, even though they're up flush in the hull of the kayak, they are still exposed. They don't disappear up in there. They're just going up above the bottom of the hull in that little seam there. Tracking on this kayak is extremely, extremely good. This is the 180 version, and I mean, I can do a circle in this small yard like this. It's with the skeg up, you can cut turns really easily unless you've got the wind going on your backside when you're trying to turn the opposite direction or anything like that. But even so, for kayaks that I've been in, this turns better than any that I have been in. You can stand up and fish super easily. Going back to how stable it is a little heavy getting into super shallow waters for things like snakehead fishing, where I'm going through thick grass and lily pads. That is definitely a challenge sometimes, but once you're in those grassy areas and you're able to stand up, it is super nice. But something like the Lynx or an Outback would perform better in those situations. But other than that, if you guys have any other questions about this boat, definitely drop a comment. I hope this video helped you if you're on the fence or you're just curious about the Hobie Pro Angler 12 180 drive. So anyway, thanks guys, and make sure to like this video if you found it helpful, and to subscribe if you want to see more fun fishing adventures. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.